Jennifer Hopper, welcome to Leading in the Dark.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you're currently the Chief Information Officer at Save-A-Lot. So tell me, what does a Chief Information Officer do, and what was your career path that led you to where you are today?
Yeah, so Chief Information Officer, I think it equates a lot to the chief problem solver. So being able to understand the business problems of the day, headwinds, tailwinds, the big picture, but also keeping in mind what tactical problems do we have to solve for the day. So getting into it with a Save a Lot perspective, we're an independent wholesaler. We have around 850 stores. We own a little over 100 from that perspective. So it is working with our independent owners. So we have about 150 independent owner groups. So understanding what their day-to-day challenges are, what their day-to-day opportunities are within the stores. And then we also have our distribution centers, so understanding what opportunities and challenges exist there from the business side. And then how as we can, as technologists, partner with them to solve those problems or advance the business.
So you mentioned quite a lot of these stores are independently owned. Is it like a franchise model?
It is, think franchise light. So we're a licensee model. We operate in partnership with our independent owner groups. We refer them to them as retail partners. So our RP groups are we partner with them through an LSA, a license and supply agreement. So we're truly partners. We serve as the wholesaler, we serve as the technology partner for them, and many other services that go above and beyond a standard wholesaler. So truly a bannered wholesaler.
You mentioned being the problem solver of the day. So we had a little problem getting this podcast started. And then you told a quick story about one of your early interviews. Tell that story. That's a good one.
Yeah, so when I first interviewed at MasterCard, I walked into the lobby, was greeted by the front desk, went through security, and then went to the conference room with what would be my future people leader. And we were connecting in with his peer so that I could meet both of them and have a group conversation. But we had trouble getting connected to the video call. And just naturally, I think my natural MO is to jump in and problem solve. So jumped in, started solving, and the interviewer, which would be my future boss, chuckled and said, "You have this job. I'm looking for someone that will jump in, solve problems, naturally do it in a positive way, not get flustered with any of the challenges." So we went on and had a great formal interview with his peer and had a great career there. And it started just with us not being able to connect on the video conference.
Yeah, that's a good story. Did you start your career in technology and IT on the ground floor, so to speak?
I did. So I attended Missouri Science and Technology. I was a biochem major, thinking I would go into the medical field. I took a bit of a break and joined Accenture Consulting, really because two of my girlfriends I played softball with at Rolla had joined Accenture and just talked about how great it was. And they could travel, be with just really driven, ambitious individuals. They said, "Come try this." I was at more of an inflection point of just being a smart kid and taking to go the medical path or the legal path, either a doctor or a lawyer in a small town. If you're a smart kid, it seems. And I just thought there's this whole world I didn't even know existed in IT consulting. So I thought, let me give that a shot. And then really never looked back. It was incredible. It's fast paced. You're with such positive individuals that really just truly want to do what's best, either for the client, the customer, and improve that experience.
Like any field in IT, you can remain on that kind of technology track, right? Where you become more and more of a senior subject matter expert, but you're still doing technology work. Or at some point, you branch off and start getting into leadership or management. So, what happened in your career path that took you down that leadership track?
Yeah, I kept asking, why are we doing this? Accenture has an amazing training program. Came out of that, started really as we all start in the programming track, and some of us naturally just get more and more curious. How can I program better? Some folks take the path of why are we programming this application or system in such a way? and getting closer to that, and others say, "Hey, this isn't for me," and there's many other paths to take. I took more of the, "Why are we doing it this way? What's the true problem we're trying to solve? What's the question behind the question?" And so, I think just that intellectual curiosity and ability to lean in a positive way. I would say looking back in my career, probably my favorite phase of that career development is when I was a tester. So you're gonna naturally move to you can do the design work and then the development work and the testing before you push it out. This is starting way back when in the dark ages of waterfall. So we got to that testing phase and running the scripts and finding the challenges, whether it was a misstep in the process on the business side or do we ask this question, is there a better way? Because once you get into developing the system or configuring or customizing, those questions come about. So just naturally leaning in there. I love working with teams. Love that partnership coming from a sports background. Just being part of the team and winning together is crazy fun for me.
As you continually asked why and maybe pushing the boundaries, why are we doing things the same old way? Did other leadership just get fed up with you asking why and just say, "Here, you go do it now," or what happened?
Maybe that's what happened. I would say within the first 5-ish years, I would say that the natural brand I didn't know was being developed at the time was bring Jennifer in when we don't really have an answer. She'll figure it out. So I would get a handful of times got brought on into projects midway, 3/4 of the way towards the end, where they had something that needed to get figured out and solved, and there wasn't a clear path forward. So just being able to have someone on your team that's willing to dig in and get to the answer and partner. I know no boundaries. You have the business team, the tech team, the change team. I just frankly, it didn't matter to me. We were all one team. We all had that common shared goal, and that was to provide a successful solution for the client. So I think that's where the brand and the leaders that I worked under were able to grab me and then pull me onto different projects as we went through the course of my career development.
I'm jumping ahead, but something you just said really triggered a thought for me. So there are two people that used to work with you, work for you, that now work for me. And that trait that you just described in yourself of being a person that gets pulled in because they know that you're going to solve it. These two people have that exact same trait, and I suspect that's not a coincidence.
It is that it attracts like we in good ways, and there's certainly diversity of thought. And I would say the two individuals that we're highlighting here, I would imagine all 3 of us would attack a problem in a different way, but at the end, we're still getting to either the root problem or a solution, and just really creative minds. I would say inspiring minds, willing to let others take the driver's seat and work collaboratively together. I think those are the traits that I would say between the 3 of us you would see as common traits.
No, I agree with you, but I'm really curious now about what are you doing to identify individuals like that? Maybe you're interviewing somebody for the first time, or you're looking at people on your team and looking to identify traits and promote them. Again, I suspect this isn't an accident that these
Yeah.
people have this characteristic. So, what are you doing as a leader that really draws this out in people?
I would say as a leader, and I would look, and I hate to talk about layers, but it's just the way it is in the world, right? We have a hierarchy, we all have a boss. Really strive with my direct reports in that servant leadership, and sometimes that's overused from a servant leadership perspective. But what can we do to make each other's lives better? And ensuring that we all take a turn at leading. And then I think that just filters across, it filters up, it filters down. I surround myself with individuals that are positive, can see through any challenge that we have and able to when we get in a room, I and it's hard to do. There's always the hierarchy, but when we get in the room to solve a problem, it doesn't matter what level we are. It doesn't matter who reports to who. We have a problem to solve. I will jump on an incident call. My DPs will jump on an incident call, and we high level of respect for one another. I do not tolerate. I have zero tolerance for disrespect in the workplace or personal. And I think that just filters through. When I'm interviewing, I listen for folks highlighting we over I. And sometimes you do when you're interviewing, you have to show your qualities. But when talking about a problem and they naturally partner? I know one of the comments that was made to me when I was at MasterCard by one of my mentors, he just said, "You can't help but include other people." They needed a problem to be solved, and he said, "If we told you to go solve this by yourself, I don't think you physically could do it. I don't think you'd just naturally reach out to others, engage them, get them involved, really listen and understand, and it's just that natural curiosity and solve that problem and go on to the next one."
From my own experience, when you get a team of technology experts together to solve a problem, it's not unusual for egos to start to appear. Everybody's very smart. Everybody, is a subject matter expert in some way, shape, or form. Like, I'm curious, like, specifically, what are you doing in those instances that kind of de-escalate the egos and get everybody working together to solve a problem?
I will give my the first time I observed this behavior, and I'll give them credit, I don't know if it's from somewhere else. I will say in my professional life, the first time I observed this behavior was working very closely with a team out of Dublin. And if 2 people started speaking at the same time, this team and maybe it was the culture of the team, I haven't researched it enough to know, they would stop first. So if I ever start speaking at the same time as anyone else, I always naturally just stop speaking and say, "Please go ahead." And I think that's permeating throughout the organization, and it doesn't have to be me and solving it just because if I'm in the room with the technology team on that hierarchy that we talked about, I'm at the top. But really, I want to learn. And a phrase that has stuck with me over the years is either you're a learn it all or you're a know it all. I would rather be a learn it all. I would rather the rest of my life learn and listen and contribute and take a different perspective. And there's different ways to solve a problem and come to a different outcome. So I think just leading by example of regardless of level, and especially in our hybrid world, if you're in a room and someone's on the phone, giving those intentional pauses and to allow the person that's virtual and for whatever reason, from location or just a life event or for whatever reason, giving them more of the preference to the airtime to let them speak their mind. The other thing I do just from a tactical perspective is ensure I go around the room. I intentionally try to notice who is maybe shrinking back and not, holding their space at the table and say, "Hey, Nick, I know we had this conversation. What do you think about it?" So it may be nerves. It may be they think that, oh, I'm in this room with directors and VPs and my voice doesn't matter. It absolutely matters. And that's where you get the real stuff is when you get everyone talking and just getting the ideas flowing. And we as a leadership team, we joke, I would say joke around, make it lighthearted. So even if it's that we're getting yelled at by a customer, just de-escalating that to say, "Hey, we'll work together. We're here to serve you. We're going to figure this out together." And this is sometimes just say, "This is my priority for the day," and clear everything else and make that your priority.
So these two individuals that we keep referencing, they gush about you like I have never heard before, and I like joke with. I'm like, come on, they just really go overboard with it, and I suspect it's in part because of your servant style leadership. What does that term mean to you, and how do you practice it? You just gave some examples,
Yeah.
but it goes beyond that.
Yeah. So the tactical side of it, practical, the one-on-ones. So just how we structure our organization. So we have our team meetings and we have our one-on-ones. We don't cancel one-on-ones. They may need to be rescheduled. There may be a customer issue or something happening in our internal. We're flexible from that perspective. But I put a great amount of importance on connecting with our employees. We're in a hybrid environment. So asking in those one-on-ones, what can I do better as your leader to support you in this hybrid environment? Is it working? How do you have ideas of how we can better engage? And that's across the board, all levels. So the way I structured is I have my directs, their one-on-ones every other week. The other week is a staff meeting. And then I have monthlies with my skip levels, my directors, and then managers and individual contributors. I meet with them at least once a year and a focused one-on-one to have the conversation. It's really about them. When I first started this a little over 4 years ago at the organization at Save a Lot, I got feedback of, "What does Jennifer need to talk to me about? What do I need to say? I should just cancel this." And I got some folks that were individual contributors attempting to cancel. I say, "Hey, this is just for me to get to know you. If we were in the office and we were sitting on the same floor, I would walk by and say hello to you, ask you how your weekend was, but we're not. So we have to formalize that a bit." So that's from an engagement perspective. We are diligent about having our quarterly town halls. And when I first joined, that was the CIO set the agenda, set the date, set everything about it. And now we rotate, each director takes a turn. So then that can highlight their organization because you do trend more towards those business facing, customer facing teams. And that's a problem because just Sunday night, we had an issue, and I had a handful of folks on a P2 incident from 11 PM to 1:30 AM. That doesn't get highlighted, but our VPs do a great job of bringing that to me, and then I could send them a quick Teams message. "Hey, thank you. I know this is you're behind the scenes. You don't get that praise often. You're not out in front with this big revenue generating initiative and getting highlighted at corporate town hall, but we wouldn't be able to do that if you worked up and during the middle of the night." The other thing I did when I first started my office, all the C-suite was up on the 3rd floor next to the CEO, so I moved my office to the 1st floor to sit with my team, and we engage, we interact, we have fun, we have a lot of fun, but while solving problems. We get a lot of stuff done, but life's short, you gotta enjoy what you're doing.
What size is your team?
So we have about 100 employees, internal employees.
Or on the IT
Yeah.
in the IT department? Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
that's
a
IT, your traditional IT, network infrastructure, security. You also have data strategy enablement that falls under my responsibility, and then the product teams. So those folks that are engaging, and then of course software engineering as well.
any trait can be taken too far in the extremes. And of course, servant leadership style can go too far. Maybe you're too kind, too lenient. How do you balance? Of course, every individual has challenges in their own career at some point. How do you balance that servant style leadership with an individual that might be struggling and needs some coaching, course correction, or perhaps even further?
Yeah. Early in my career, I was told I was too kind, I was too happy, and I would never make it. And the individual that told me that was a leader of mine. I'm still in touch with that leader today. And I think the world has shifted a bit. You don't have to be harsh. You don't have to be rude or disrespectful or shout or scream. And it's just not my style. And I've been able to be successful holding true to that. So I don't really know another way. And then folks that perhaps are too kind, as long as you're sticking to the business objective, the business priority, ensuring that I talk a lot about common shared goal. As long as you know what that end goal is and you are both striving towards that end goal, we have different styles. Have I been screamed at, shouted out? Of course, absolutely. I don't think you make it through life without that at some point. I internalize that as passion and energy. So if someone is extremely upset with me and they've raised their voice and they're cursing, and I just I let that come in, and then I translate it to they care. And you can't train someone to care. You can't I've been in athletics my whole life. I coached. You can't coach someone to want. You can't coach someone to have that just internal drive. And so I think it's translating that to the professional world. It's very similar. You can't coach or train someone to care and get really upset. If someone's really upset, that means they really care. So how do I take that energy and harness it and just transition them over to the positive side? And guess what? They're going to end up being my best friend, and we're going to solve some really big problems together. So that's the customer side of it. With an employee, if it's an employee within the organization, it's trying to get to what's upsetting them. What's that root cause? Is it something at work that I can influence? Is it something outside of work? And sometimes it's just not a good fit. They can be bigger, bolder, better, and happier, maybe outside of my team, my organization. And I tell everyone that's in my world, come to me. I'm a safe place. I can help you. If you're not happy here, let's figure it out. Let's try to change it. And if it is not being here in my world, that's okay. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect for everyone.
I'm curious about your comment about you can't coach somebody to care. It's like you either have it or you don't. Thinking about team members that we have the privilege of leading, right? So I think leaders have a likely a very innate high drive of caring, or you wouldn't be in these positions. But there's plenty of folks that are happy just coming in 9 to 5, doing the thing and going home. And you might not see, it just might not be as obvious on the surface that they're putting in the care that we have, or you might want everybody to have. How do you manage those situations?
We need everyone. We need all kinds. We need individuals that are happy coming in the 9 to 5. And that's okay. That's perfectly acceptable. It is great if they're in a role for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, whatever the number of years. And what I view as successful and what makes me happy is what makes me happy, not someone else. And different phases of our life, sometimes we have to lean in more on the personal side. Sometimes there is opportunity and airtime to lean in more on the professional side and really understanding that with our employees. I value extremely high value of the ones that traditional role of I'm going to stick with this role and I'm happy doing amazing work, exceptional work in this role. And perhaps they don't have a desire to be a people manager. Perfectly okay. That's amazing because we can't all be the same. If we all wanted to stay in that role or we all wanted the next thing, the next big challenge, the world wouldn't work. So I make sure that we understand the value of those employees. Now, if I see someone in my one-on-ones and I pick up comments around that curiosity and I see that curiosity, but perhaps they don't see the value in themselves, then I try to pull that out and try to harness that energy and get them, hey, let's talk more about this. What are your goals? How can I help support you? Do you feel as though you're challenged? Just getting them to talk. And then sometimes, oh, yeah, I would be curious. I would like to learn more. And then you see them flourish and move on.
You mentioned it sounds like some of your workforce is hybrid or perhaps fully remote. Was that as a result of COVID, or were you operating that way before COVID?
Save a Lot was operating that way before COVID. I actually joined in December of 2020, so it was established at that time and before me. And that's what, we can all laugh. We were hybrid before hybrid was a thing, especially with our co-location and our global teams across. So since I started way back in 1999, we were hybrid back then. We had co-location teams. For IT, it's easier. We have transitioned to Agile, so I get the question at the executive level, how do you know they're working if you don't see them? I get asked about some companies have went to the monitoring of mouse movement and key clicks and that sort of thing. That's not a right fit for us. That's right fit for other companies, and they should do what is the fit for them. But for us, we're hybrid. It works. We come into the office when we need to be in the office. And you see that trend shifting more to, I think people are missing it. We're missing that social interaction. We're missing the human to human, real life contact. It works for us, especially I mentioned we had Sunday evening until Monday morning. We had a team fixing a problem. So it goes both ways, right? They don't have an in-office Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 schedule. It's pretty fluid and they jump on, and I think the flexibility goes both ways.
Yeah. This is obviously a hot topic. We run a hybrid schedule ourselves, but I really vacillate on both sides of the argument, in particular for folks earlier in their career. For that social interaction that you just mentioned, I think we do a real disservice to folks at that stage, and perhaps they're doing a disservice to themselves in working remote because you just pick up so much nuance by being in person and the speed and just being right there connected to your team and your leadership to really expose them to things that can accelerate or advance their career over time as opposed to being isolated. I just really feel like that's not setting them up the best for success, but I could totally be wrong.
For me, every company, every team, every individual is so different. I just think you have to look at the company, look at your customer base that you're serving, your who you are partnering with, and really what makes sense and what those people want out of their career. And everyone will have to be on the same. I think you will never be able to convince me that live human interaction is a bad thing. Now, how much we need of that and how much each individual needs, it varies. I see it just different from my kids. They can have a great relationship with a friend and barely see each other live. But I just think I agree with you. I think where we will misstep and have to take a step backwards is if we do that broad stroke and try to make everyone fit into that box. But yeah, I think we're learning. We're all learning along the way and growing and developing together.
I'm curious, what is it about Agile that makes this remote work activity really work for you?
So for us, we have quarterly PI planning. We will enter our PI planning next week and just setting here's the part and truly partnering with the business. And I have labeled it stealth agile transformation. We hired individuals, that's what they knew how to do. We hired in the scrum masters, we hired in developers that they came from agile organizations, so they started working agile, and then the folks that were already at Save a Lot, like, "Hey, this actually is really great. Let's make this work." And so we define our sprints, we have our stories, we point them, and we get the work done. So you know what you have planned to do, and then, of course, there'll be a headwind or an urgent business situation, and we work with a business and we pivot, we add in spikes where we need to, but it's together with the business. And so they understand what we're doing. It's not, oh, what's that crazy IT team doing over there? When I first came in, there it wasn't organized. It was a bit chaotic at best. And so I went to each of my peers and said, all right, one to N, list everything that you need from IT. I went to the IT department, list everything you're working on from a business perspective. And we started with a business and we worked through each of the areas, infrastructure, security, data, all through, and came up with a one to end list and said, okay, everything can't be a priority number one. So when the one to end came back, some of the teams and departments said, well, I need all of this done. They're all priority number one. We have capacity and we have prioritization and timelines and budgets. And so just transitioning to that. But first it was just getting order in the chaos, prioritizing, and really working. And now it's a pretty well-oiled machine. Is if we have, say, we have 7 things for this PI planning, and we have a business priority come in. So, okay, how do we shift resources? How do we shift prioritization? Do we need to go external and provide more capacity, or can that one thing that we previously, maybe a month ago, was a priority that we could deprioritize it and we'll push it to another PI planning? So I think it brings organization. It allows for clear, concise communication with the business, and business sets priority on business efforts, initiatives. But there's also the IT work that needs to be done. So we have a long list of tech debt. We do reserve capacity for that. And they just understand there's vulnerabilities that we need to address and just educate. Taking the time to educate them goes a long way.
This is a little off topic, but I'm curious, have you started to use AI in the business?
A bit. So we are leveraging Microsoft Copilot and training our model right now. And for us, we are really prioritizing the AI that's, I would say, native to our partners. So as we look at our warehouse management solution, we look at our transportation management system, we look at ordering, we look at our master data management, our core merchandising applications, we are partnering with software vendors that have that native within their tools and using that as a starting point and then pulling that over into our world. I'd say very early in the journey, but getting folks onto Copilot, ensuring that they understand the Wild West that lives out there and ensuring that we're keeping our data safe. We're in that education phase right now.
Do you allow your developers and coders to use AI to help?
Yeah, so we partnered with Microsoft, had a 2-day workshop where they were able to deep dive. They brought in real world use cases that we were able to throw up on the board and then work through them.
Jennifer, maybe in summary, I usually ask a question along the lines of if you could advise listeners to what is the one key takeaway regarding your leadership style from this discussion, what would you summarize it as?
I will it'll be a theme. It is be happy and have fun. If you're not happy, you're not having fun, go do something else. Life is short. I happen to love what I do. I happen to love technology. I happen to love not having the answer and having to research. I'm extremely comfortable not having the answer. And so that allows me to keep growing, keep learning. But that is horrible for the next person. If that's horrible for the next person, then don't do it. So from a leadership perspective, whether it's in technology or any other field or personal, professional, just enjoy it. Be having fun. Enjoy your day. Make sure, even though something could be seen as a negative, you can find the silver lining. You can find that bright spot and turn it to make it be a happy moment for you and others around you.
I think that's really good insight and advice. Thanks for sharing a lot of the learnings that you did, and thanks for developing these two great individuals that I now have the privilege of having on our team.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's nice talking with you, Jennifer.
Yes, take care.